That those who see the party as a path to wealth, power and influence need to change their ways or leave the party. In a letter to AC members, Ramaphosa has conceded that the governing party is deeply implicated in the country's corruption problems. He had urged members facing corruption allegations to insulate the ANC from reputational damage by stepping aside while their cases are being heard. This comes as the party faces severe criticism for redeploying former eThekwini Mayor Zandile Gumede to the provincial legislature in KwaZulu-Natal. Gumede is out on bail of 50,000 rand for her alleged role in a Durban solid waste tender scandal. Meanwhile, the Health Minister Dr Zweli Mkhize reiterated that no healthcare workers should be exposed to the virus in their working environment without adequate training, protection and support, including the availability of PPEs. Mkhize said that a zero-tolerance approach would be adopted in fighting corruption.
We will fight against corruption in general, but specifically corruption insofar as the COVID-19 resources are concerned, in particular in the procurement of the PPEs. We will do everything to make sure that our systems are able to prevent any corruption, that where there is, we will be able to investigate to the extent that is possible and cooperate with all the agents that have been set by the President and the law enforcement agencies to make sure that we expose and uproot all the corruption. So there is no way we can actually have a compromise on the matter. I think it's important for us to make that statement quite categorically to the rest of the workers out there, that we stand with them in the fight against corruption of any form.
Okay. Now, as a department, are you considering perhaps centralizing the tender procurement process to ensure that PFMA procedures are not manipulated? We've heard of price inflation, we've heard of price fixing, but there's also the President writing in a letter to ANC members today about the alleged corruption. The WHO has labelled it murder. It's something that is doing horrible harm not only to our reputation, but I'd imagine to yours personally as Minister who presides over this pandemic.
Well, I think we must accept that corruption is a problem right across, and whether we are in the health department or any other part of government, we are similarly affected by this. And it's important to also say that we take a stand on it, but also from the letter the President was raising, it's important to say that there are rules that are supposed to be enforced, largely governed by the PFMA and the National Treasury regulations, and that no one is exempted from those regulations. And therefore, we'll work together to make sure that these regulations are enforced. Of course, you will notice that there are various levels at which procurement takes place, and therefore, certain things can happen at any part. We just need to make sure that there's a consciousness amongst all our management that none of this will be tolerated.